Okay, welcome. We are moving right along in our coursework, and I'm playing with a new tool today. I'm always trying new things and venturing out. I want to introduce you to this tool called Screencast-O-Matic. You may have already played with it in a different course, but some of you have been talking a lot about the individualization of instruction, and I've mentioned, thinking about that station rotation model, and we've talked about whether or not workshops would practically work out because students are at different places. One option you can think about, and then of course with the whole Khan Academy, the whole buzzword of flipped classrooms, we start thinking more about video. So this would be an option for you, for your students, especially if you're a school that you're hired into is a more technological school. But even if they're not, my school that my students go to is not, and my middle son's math teacher actually sends these little video snippets by email to the students' parents when they're studying for a test, so that they can help. So he can basically be alongside them while he's teaching a new math concept while they're doing their homework at home. Okay, so just an idea, and again, I'm playing with this. The advantage of this program, the reason I wanted to use it today, is that I heard that you could see a screen and my face. And not that I'm like in love with my face or anything, believe me, not the case, but I do think there's something to be said about having that personal touch. But I also want to show you things on the screen that we're working with as I go through it to kind of help you through. So this would also be a way to give feedback to students in their writing. You could pull up their paper, walk them through it, and then they could listen to the recording later at home, or you send them the link. That is, if they have technology at home. I know we have all these roadblocks, but let's think of solutions too. Okay, so obviously check out your announcements for this week, and I always download the syllabus first off just to kind of see what we've got going on this week, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what our lessons look like for the week. We are heading into kind of a new module of sorts. If you look at how the course is set up, it's kind of every 3 weeks we do a little shift. So, went too far. We are in week 4, and we're going to start talking a little bit more about assessments. So I mentioned to you that this is something you could use to give students feedback. When we talk about writing as a type of assessment, we also have to consider our feedback. For your reading this week, we're going to be reading from Atwell, chapters 10 through 14, which is her section called Teaching with a Capital T. And in that section, she's going to talk about the role of the teacher and what she means by teaching with a capital T. I won't spoil it for you. You can read it on your own. I also have an article here from Edutopia, and if you look in your blog comments from last week, from week 2, I think I sent somebody another article from Edutopia. It's a great source. It might be something you want to sign up for as a professional in education in any area. Great resource of teacher blogs, and they really are fairly helpful in terms of carefully sifting through them to make sure that they're only putting really good stuff out there. So Edutopia, and in the Edutopia link you will find that it's a blog, like I said, to a student user's guide assignment by a teacher named Ashley Hutchinson. So just an idea for assessment, and we're talking a lot about assessment in this little unit, and I want to just kind of put out for you kind of a little mini lesson. If you've not already had some instruction on this, summative assessment is sort of like that exam type assessment where you're really trying to finalize a culmination of skills and see how students perform. And I think that's how we often have been taught to assess, is that the idea is that they pass the test. OGT, OAAs, summative assessments, correct? There's a lot to be said about summative assessments and what they can give us in data, but formative assessments along the way can be effective, if not more effective in my way of thinking. And I think it's also a paradigm shift. A formative assessment is not meant to be the end of the line. It's meant to be, it sort of fits in with that short cycle concept where you're just testing a little skill and seeing how it goes so that you know how to proceed with a student. So if we think of writing more as a formative assessment instead of that end 10-page research paper, then we're looking at every step along the way and giving students a next place to go with their writing. And to me, this is extremely crucial in framing how we teach writing. It's also, just as an example, what I'm trying to do in our wiki especially, but also in discussion boards and blogs. The idea that, yeah, I'm giving you some feedback on that step, but I'm hoping to encourage you to go the next step in your thought processes. So if I ever say to you, yeah, but how would you do that? I'm challenging you. I'm not saying you got something wrong. I'm saying, think about that for the next time. Move this direction. Keep digging there. Okay, so that's formative and summative assessments. This article right here, this provosttufts.edu, is one that I found that I feel like is really good in explaining summative and formative assessments, and that's a PDF resource for you to look, just to kind of see that taught out a little bit more in black and white. And then finally, I'm going to ask that you get a hold of a copy of Common Core Standards. They're online. There is some question about whether or not these are going to, there's a lot of scuttlebutt about whether or not these are going to happen or not, but they do give us a likely place that we will land in our next teaching assignment, and you'll hear about it a lot. You can get them online, or you can simply, if you have a smartphone, there's an app for that, okay? And I use, let's see if I can pull mine up real quick here on my phone. It's by Mastery Connect, and so you want to look for Mastery Connect. It's a green icon, and it looks, I don't know if you can see it very well on my phone. It gives whole standards and resources. You might have a glare, but it's great as a resource. Okay, so what are we doing this week with this stuff? Before we read, hop over to the discussion board. Talk about writing assessments as they relate to formative and summative types. What features in writing tasks distinguish between the two assessment types? Why do the types matter? You might have to do a little reading before you get into that one this week. I got a little bit more intellectual on you. And I kind of already answered part of this for me, the why do the types matter. Think about it for you. And obviously, anytime we have a discussion board, bring up things that are from your writing experience. Second, for the blog, we're going to create a chart or graphic. I want to kind of mix it up a little bit, of your favorite prompts or writing tasks, either from the readings or from original creation, and I want you to label them next to it, maybe in your chart, as how they would be a formative or summative assessment, which one you think they'd fit best, or if both, and then tie them into a Common Core standard. How do they fit into our standards? If you're using, like I said, I'm using the blog as a formative assessment, so I would say blog writing task is a course blog for research and application of concepts, okay? And then it's a formative assessment, and then for the Common Core standard, I could pull some of the verbiage about collaboration and using evidence from research, that kind of thing. Get what I'm saying? Okay, I have a workshop here as a question mark in the syllabus, and for right now I feel like, okay, here's my thought process. The workshop is a place where we can throw out writing, and you can throw things in, and the way I understand the way it's set up is that you can work with each other and check things with each other. If at this point you feel like you've done 3 weeks of wiki and are a little bit unsure about it, feel free to use the workshop tool, but it is optional. Okay, I thought about requiring it, and I feel like I've got a lot going on for you, and I don't want to overload you with good things. Just because there's good tools out there, it doesn't mean we need to use all of them. But if you choose to and you want to collaborate, it's totally not cheating to share out your wiki stuff in the workshop. Okay, and then for the wiki, you're going to be creating 2 writing tasks, a detailed prompt or activity written in student language, and a grading rubric for that particular activity. Remember, this wiki is not due for 3 weeks. It's due at the end of week 5. So I'm just telling you this now so you can build to it. But there's some explanation here, but I want a pretty detailed sharing out. Basically, I want you to have created some writing lessons for students, and that's what we're working towards for this this time around wiki. Okay, that's the week. The only two required things are the discussion board and blog in terms of writing, and the readings here in the middle column. And I want to talk to you a little bit about assessments, just kind of off the cuff, kind of a mini lesson right now. And I want you to consider your own experience as a writer and what worked and what didn't work. And right now I also want to share with you, see if I can find it really quickly in my documents and throw it up here for you. A feedback system I started using a while back, and let's see if I can throw it up here. Okay. This is not exactly what my feedback, my favorite form is, but I want to show you an example of a feedback form. Basically, I got tired of spending a lot of time on papers and having students literally go like this and toss them, okay? And so I started doing a thing, and I do it with my online students, but I actually started in a brick and mortar classroom for junior high and high school students. I've actually extended this into my college student teaching, and it's a type, it's a way that I give feedback, and we're going to talk more about feedback next week. But if we're talking about writing as being formative, and we're talking about building portfolios perhaps to have students keep building on their writing and editing and revising, how can we engage them in this conversation called writing in a way that is meaningful to them and encourages them to move on? And I think our temptation is to handle a writing project as sort of a gotcha moment, like, I can't believe they still don't know what a thesis statement is, okay, that kind of thing, or hey, gotcha, you still aren't doing this right. When writing really should be more of a conversation. This is one of the ways I try to create writing as a conversation. This is a student of mine, and I had the students fill out this part of the document with their paper. So after they wrote their paper, they fill this part out. Okay, and I just asked them a series of questions. Then when they got their paper back, this is what I told them. And if you'll notice, it's very simple. It's a high point. It's something I want them to, that is something I wondered about with their paper. And the third part is what I want them to, a goal for next time. So the wonder about part, obviously in this one I used it as a teaching moment. She was supposed to write a narrative and she really didn't. Yeah, but I clarified narrative. Do you know what narrative means? Because you make it into a story. That's what narrative means. Another wonder about statement you can make is, oh, I wondered how this situation turned out for you, or I wondered about your source that you used. This was it a solid source? You know, think about things you could ask students about their writing. And then the third area, obviously the thing I want her to work on, and we were big on the 5-paragraph essay, blah blah blah. I don't love that, but that was what my school chose, and so that's what I did. So this is just an example I wanted to show you about how to make writing a formative experience. We'll talk more about feedback next week, but wanted to throw this to you as a sort of, I don't know,